What's going on, everybody? It's Frito here. Blizzard's patch happy again, which is fine. It's not like anybody just made a massive tier list video or anything. Lots of nerfs coming through. First up to Wrecking Ball, Pile Driver, loss of air control has been reduced from 1 second to 0.5 seconds. Wow, 50%. This is probably the right way to go, as they've done similar things to Orisa's crowd control. Pile Driver was very similar in its ability to combo with damage and set up free kills. This is the type of thing that probably makes it even harder to combine with teammates in the ranked level, making me feel even more strongly as I did talking about how Winston D.Va feels more reliable to me. And what's more, this probably just outright kills the Pharah ball synergy at higher tiers. Because Pharah shoots rockets, you really need those targets to be bobbled up in air for quite a while due to the travel time, and now that it's only half a second, maybe there's a chance you can adjust by aiming at the ground rather than hitting them mid-air, but it's a difficult shot no matter what, and once you regain control, maybe you just start dodging and miss anyway. It won't matter too much for synergies with Ball and Tracer or Genji. Tracer's probably the better of those two, because of just how fast they get in and can focus on the target that gets hit by this. Keep in mind as well, this is also a pretty significant nerf to Wrecking Ball's Minefield, where now it'll be quite a lot harder to bobble everyone together in time for the mines to be activated. So although in the past Ball received some serious buffs to his self-shield, this might turn out to be a much more devastating nerf than we thought, but perhaps is a bit fair thanks to a lot of the answers to Wrecking Ball being nerfed in the past as well. Most notably Mei, where in comparison, Winston with his barrier buff and D.Va with her thrusters buff, I think a lot of the times you're going to want to be looking to those tanks for a much more reliable answer, whereas they seem to be making Wrecking Ball harder and harder to play. Next nerf is to Brigitte, whose armor heal over time has been reduced from 75 armor to 50, and the heal per second has been decreased from 60 to 55. The way armor pack works is that you apply it, and then for 2 seconds, you used to get that 60 healing a second, now it goes down to 55. This might look like a big nerf, but I wonder if it's something that can be optimized with just timing your repair packs a bit better. So whereas in the old system, you could be a bit looser with it because you knew if you packed a DPS early, that extra 75 health really made a difference in their durability. But now you'll want to be able to time the pack onto them as they go in, so they're sort of gaining the armor through the fight, because not as much stacks up beforehand as it used to. The heal over time on this might feel like it matters, but it's such a gradual change. And really, and I know a lot of you have said this in comment sections as well, when Briggs played well, she just gets gold healing all the time, and I don't think it's from Repair Pack, I think it's from Inspire, with a huge AoE, and it's just constantly going. Whenever you reduce healing numbers, you worry about a support ultimate coming up, but again, I think Inspire did the heavy lifting with that, so this change will make Repair Pack less the outrageous pocket tool I said it was in my tier list video, but perhaps a similar level of value when timed appropriately. Next change is a buff to Symetra, where her alternate fire, the big blue balls, has their damage increased from 120 to 140. Good googly moogly, is that a high number? Okay, so originally, tons of things in the game did 120. Junkrat, Pharah, Widow body shots. 120 was like a magic number for Overwatch because of the way it interacted with damage amps, different health pools. But if we look to like the Junkrat rework, he got his damage increased to 130 in order to combat the GOATS era. But even he still struggles to combat the likes of Hanzo, who has a similar spike of ranged projectile damage output, but a higher skill cap that allows him to reach greater heights. And I feel Symetra's going to have a similar feel to that, where 140 is even higher than Junkrat's damage, a seriously insane number when you land it. But unlike Junkrat, Symetra's escape is just teleporter. It's not like mines, which allow you to jump away immediately. And in that regard, Symetra is seriously a glass cannon. I do want to note that 140 is kind of an incredible breakpoint, especially when you consider you can damage amp that with a Mercy Pocket. A single orb will do 182. Nano Boost or Bongo will do 210. So you can just nano sim, run it down mid, and one-shot people with the blue balls. Yes, they move slow, but they're not that hard to hit and will seriously pressure down tanks. But I wouldn't say this would make her take the game by storm in the same way Junkrat isn't. I think he's a tier 3 hero and more or less just useless in compared to Hanzo, who has an escape, more lethal range, and recon arrow, which is just an incredible map control tool. But at the same time, in spots where you can envision Symetra to work, she works harder now, even when you don't damage amp. 140 is a cute number because I feel like there's a lot of things in the game that can combo with it to do that extra 60 damage to kill a squishy. A second of Winston Tesla does 60, Ryan's Hammer does 75. I mean, 2 melees does 60. I think it's a pretty easy number to combo with Sim, and even something like a double spam comp with Pharah and Sim crossfiring into a choke might just be devastating, but perhaps for all the wrong reasons. I don't know if we want spam to be insane and compete with how the game plays. We'll have to monitor this, because this is the type of change, just like I said with the Reaper buff and Mei buffs, like 2 years ago, try to scream at the high heavens that you don't want to buff easier characters to try to compete at the top meta, because it ends up hurting low-ranked players, and I think we've learned that lesson about Reaper, who finally got tuned back, and I don't want to see Symetra go down that same route. Last change is to Widowmaker. Another nerf changes her full charge time to be increased from 0.83 of a second to 1 full second. This is actually pretty huge. This might seriously be a massive shakeup at the highest tiers of play, but I'm somewhat unsure how it'll affect most tiers. So for example, there's some very important Widowmaker tech that if you put a Mercy Pocket on Widow and damage amp her, the time it takes to reach the damage threshold of a one-shot kill is much lower, you could say 30% lower, than the time it takes for you to full charge. And in fact, a full charge shot does more than 200 damage anyway to the head. So when you have a pocket attached to you, you actually can quick scope pretty hard. This makes Widow a severe high-level hero on the maps where she's playable, and other ranged characters have always really struggled to go against her if the Widowmaker had the aim to hit heads because of this principle. So you can just fast out, peek, nail a head before you have time to react. Playing with this gap really plays with that principle. So for high levels, I think this toys with that and may make Hanzo, who got his projectile speed decreased, which made him weaker at longer range. He'll have a better chance again up against Widowmaker, and in a lot of peak battles against other hit scans like Soldier, McCree, and Ashe, they'll have a bigger gap to have a chance against her before she can instantly kill them. Now, for the average level of play, though, I think a lot of people have assumptions that most Widowmaker players can't aim at the average level of play. That's actually not what I've seen, because at most tiers, the positioning and movement of players and just coordination around corners and being disciplined in your positioning in team fights and regroup phases, because of all that, the shots Widows have to hit are easier at lower ranks, and they often look, to me anyway, to be pretty competent at being able to hit them. Now, the question I have is, would those same players hit those shots if they had to wait a fraction of a second longer to hit them? And my assumption is likely yes, because her success in those areas were based on big mistakes in respecting angles, and I don't know if it was so much a fast peek, instantly catching someone out, more than dominating a sightline and having the enemy stumble into it with poor movement. But regardless, that whole argument requires the Widowmaker to be able to hit shots. If they're more of a Withomaker than a Widowmaker, this will make their job harder for sure, because it takes longer to reach that kill shot charge, meaning the number of attempts you have to hit a shot are also going down, because if you add a fraction of a second to like 10 or 20 or 50 shots over the course of a whole game, you're going to get less attempts than you would when you could kind of quick draw the scope up and shoot much faster. I'm not sure what I think about this nerf, because Widow was dominant on some maps, but on others I felt Rushdown was fine to just ignore her. So we'll have to see if this is too minor of a nerf to shake things up, or if it feels fair, and who knows, maybe other range DPS start to come to the forefront. Well guys, that's everything for the patch note changes. We'll be keeping you updated if there are any more. It looks like they want to be doing these weekly and sporadically, so I'm gonna keep my eyes peeled to the PTR. If you guys enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave it a like. It really does help us out, lets us know that you're enjoying the content, and if you haven't already, please subscribe and hit the bell icon to actually get notified when our videos go live. Be sure to check out our Twitter, linked in the description, where we tweet out news, updates, and dank memes. That's been it for me. I've been Frito for Your Overwatch. We'll see you guys next time.